Well, hello. My name's David Martinez, and welcome to Zoom in on the 2020 presidential elections in America. As you can maybe understand from my accent, I am American. I'm also Italian. I've been living in Milan for the last 30 years. I'm a journalist and communications consultant and founder of Global Focus. Global Focus is an educational method for applying English to business so that you can work in English just as you work in Italian. In any case, I'm here as a journalist tonight, and I'm here to tell you, to update you on the latest news in the American elections. As you certainly know, this year there is a presidential election and Donald Trump is up for re-election. And the overriding question is, every week, what will Trump do to remain in power this week? Well, this week was not a particularly good week. It was July 4th weekend. July 4th is the American Independence Day. It's generally a very traditionally a moment when families come together, some to celebrate the independence of the United States and the creation of the United States and the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and things of that nature. This was not really how Trump celebrated July 4th this year. Again, he has established that his methodology, his tactics for this election will be dividing people more than unifying people. How did he do this weekend? Basically, he went to South Dakota to the Black Hills, where in fact there are the four busts of the different presidents: Washington, Jefferson, Madison, I'm not sure the fourth. And of course, his profile was evident as he stood in front of these monumental presidents. However, he was not really celebrating all of those presidents. He was pushing more political campaign agenda than a presidential unification agenda. We've talked and we will talk, being a communications consultant, I'm always interested in seeing how Trump uses the media and organizes his communication strategy and implements it. Apparently his strategy has become quite defined. It's not based on policies. It's not really based on his record. He still considers himself an outsider who does not want to be associated with Washington. His campaign 4 years ago included the slogan, "Drain the swamp being the interconnectivity behind the doors without the not very transparent relationships between business and politics in Washington. However, that has, it's debatable whether he has managed to drain the swamp whatsoever, or whether he has, on the other hand, contributed dramatically to this interconnection between business and politics. Certainly his own personal experience seems to indicate that the connection is strong. He was the only, and still is the only president to not have declared his income taxes to the American electorate. So American voters don't know if in fact he is as rich as he claims to be, how he is making his money, where his money is invested, if those investments might influence his policies, or might make him susceptible to influence, whether it's from hostile governments or business business associates. Anyway, his if he hasn't if he's not running on his record, as we say, that is the accomplishments of his first administration, and if he had really recently has not got very much good news to communicate to his electorate, well, then what exactly is he running on? Recently, I guess there's a term that's been used for probably a century, but is very applicable recently, and seems to the strategy behind Trump seems to be culture wars. Culture wars. That is a conflict between social groups and the struggle to dominate what our values, beliefs, and practices are. I mean, obviously, this in some circumstances has been a necessary evolution, political evolution. Things that have often come up as cultural wars are abortion, homosexuality, but more recently, even the COVID masks. Wearing a mask for Donald Trump is a cultural statement. And for his base, his voters, they see this as being an imposition that the government is telling us what to do, and we are free people. We don't listen to governments. Trump has maybe taken that a step further. He doesn't listen to his advisors. He doesn't listen to experts. And certainly, it's still to be seen if he listens to his voters. There seems to be some pushback. Not everybody is particularly happy with his resistance to using masks. Certainly, even his head of the Center for Disease Control has warned that there could be 100,000 infections daily without the use of masks, particularly in situations like the 4th of July, where people generally go to the beach, they generally have big family reunions, travel across the country to see one another, and to some extent that was not the case this year. However, July 4th weekend is a very heavy trafficked weekend in one way or another. Let's see. Associated, unfortunately, with this outsider approach to government, it seems to be that the overriding recent considerations and recent declarations from Trump all have sort of a racial, if not racist, overtone. This weekend, when speaking about the American independence, instead of speaking about American independence, he defended the Confederate flag, along with the Black Lives Matter and the protests for George Floyd and the police brutality, which everyone seems to agree at this point is an institutionalized problem. The President of the United States on Independence Day promoting the Confederate flag. The Confederate flag was the flag of the American traitors that lost the Civil War, and that Abraham Lincoln declared to free slaves. Defending, therefore, the traitors, the Confederate flag, seemed to be another example of not just staking a position as an outsider, but as not respecting any of the recent manifestations of total discontent with the institutionalized racism in America. So again, Trump is continuing in this direction. Another similar but usually easier approach is to find an enemy. In this case, the enemy is frequently the protesters, but he's also identified China as an enemy, although that's a bigger potential enemy in a certain sense, and anything that's Chinese, including the references to COVID being a Chinese disease. These are sort of, the counterpoint to what most politicians would do, which is suggest that they have a plan to do something about the problems that we have. But the plan seems to be to identify the enemies, divide them if possible, and in the absence of good economic news, in the absence of middle-class support, really right now Trump has no good news. Another potential policy that he could adopt, given that he's not, he feels that climate change is a hoax, is that he could try to use the American energy policy to promote polluting energy forms like coal and oil above sustainable energy policies. And this may, to some extent, go over well with his base in some states, although not the entire United States. His adversary, well, actually, this week we have Trump has a new adversary, and it was one of his best friends. One of his best friends, Kanye West, has declared that he is going to run for president of the United States this year. Kanye West is a famous and wealthy black rapper, musician, and he was also one of Donald Trump's most famous guests in the White House, where he said that he loved Donald Trump and that one day he would run for president, but not this year, not any earlier than 2024. Well, he's changed his mind, apparently. Whether this is just a promotional exploit, where he's trying to take advantage of the political instability in the United States to promote his own agenda, because he did not, when he announced this, he did not go into any detail whatsoever about what he intended to do if Trump, in fact, was not already doing those things that he wanted him to do, and why he decided to run for president this year instead of waiting until 2024, if in fact he ever intends to run. So his candidacy has not been taken particularly seriously. However, he's an extremely popular cultural icon, and so some people are asking why he decided to announce his candidacy, if there isn't some ulterior motive for his new political fervor. What do you think? What would you say if one of Trump's best friends, who happens to be one of his few black friends, decided to run against Donald Trump? Why would he do something like that? Is he really running against Donald Trump? Is he trying to influence the election in some way? Is he trying to talk to black voters, being black himself? Still to be seen. We don't know yet. There are some, you know, little details to running for president. It's not like I think I'd like to be president, but you know, it is a little late to start a campaign to be president. The election is the 3rd of November, and in 4 months or so, it will be difficult to attract a majority of votes. It will be difficult, I don't know, as a famous media and music personality. Perhaps he can just step in and transform his listeners, his musical followers into a political party. However, it's not quite that simple. What he did say in expressing his desire to become a candidate was this, and I quote: "We must now realize the promise of America by trusting God, unifying our vision, and building our future. I am running for president of the United States." He followed that with an American flag symbol and hashtag 2020 vision. 2020 vision in American or English idiom is an English or American idiom referring to the quality of your vision. Without my glasses, I don't have 2020 vision. With the glasses, I have 2020 vision. So it also happens to be the name of a book that I translated, 2020 Vision for the 2020 Markham Maelstrom, about advertising in the 2020s. In any case, we just have to wait and see if, in fact, Kanye West is a serious candidate or not. If you have reasons for thinking or questions you want to ask me about his candidacy or about any aspect of the American elections, you can certainly write them in, or you can send them to me during the week, and I'll see if I can address them next Monday. The address is formazione@globalfocus.it. In any case, getting back to the other candidates, the principal candidate being Joe Biden. Joe Biden was Obama's vice president for 8 years and had a long career as a senator from a small state, the small state of Delaware. Basically, Biden's strategy up to date is to just let Trump go ahead and antagonize suburban voters with his strong feelings about the culture war. He's been quite silent because, in fact, this is an unusual election due to the COVID lockdowns and the impossibility of organizing enormous rallies, as Trump proved himself when only 6,000 people showed up at his 19,000 seat venue in Tulsa, Oklahoma, just 2 weeks ago. People are not turning out for these sorts of events. The Americans are going through the worst period of COVID infections to date. That is, despite the fact that things have been going on there now for 4 months. There has not been a tail off of the infection rate. The mortality rate is not very high, kind of unexplainable, but fortunately it's not very high. But the infection rate has hit new records this past week and sustained them, unfortunately. In any case, so Biden is not holding big rallies. There's the expectation is that the Democratic convention will be a virtual convention, very little congregation of the representatives to confirm his nomination as the Democratic candidate for the presidency. It's still to be seen, but probably it will be a totally new approach to campaigning. In fact, given how little visibility he has, obviously Trump every day is being interviewed or followed by the media, the press, and Biden, on the other hand, is basically staying at home, and but he has been using social media to both express his negative opinions about Trump's handling of the crises, both the health crisis and the economic crisis following COVID. And he has come up with a new strategy for doing both of these things. Starting, I'm not sure exactly when, but I don't think this has started yet. He will be talking on Twitter. How will he be talking on Twitter? He is going to be using major influencers or Twitter users with major followers, millions of people, to hold talks to discuss with that group of followers issues of concern to them, or maybe his general political intentions. And this is an interesting development. It'll be interesting to see if Biden, who's 78 years old, is a good communicator on social media, and how exactly that works. Certainly, he can also use surrogates, such as Barack Obama himself, or all of the big famous Democratic heavyweights, to help him both spread his message and bring in more money. This will be an extremely expensive campaign for both Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and Kanye West if he manages, because most of it will be paid television advertising, since there are no opportunities to create news situations on such a large scale as in the past because of the virus. So this attempt to use social media to speak to millions of people is an interesting new development in the communication strategies. It's also possible that Biden being sort of everybody's second choice more than their first choice will have to come up with some policy that unites Democrats around his platform. It could, I think people are talking about climate change as a potential defining element of his political identity, and one that can unify Democrats. It's still to be seen if it can unify independents or moderate Republicans. Another element that has attracted a lot of attention in Biden's campaign is his promise to nominate a female vice president. This is particularly interesting because being 78 years old, Biden has admitted that he is a transitional president. He will probably, if he wins, only be president for one term. And generally, in that case, you would expect his vice president to follow in his footsteps, becoming the candidate, the party candidate in 2024. So this means that we could be looking, if in fact Biden manages to reach a majority of the electorate, looking at a one-term president with a female candidate for president in 4 years. There's also been a lot of talk about nominating a black woman, or yes, a black woman. Personally, this week I believe I identified who his vice presidential candidate will be. Do you want to know? I'm a little reluctant to hold on to the secret too long, because then it won't be as, if in fact I'm right, I think I'll have lost the surprise element. So I think I will tell you who I believe the candidate will be, and I believe it will be Susan Rice. Susan Rice is not a name that had been floating around. Most of the names were some of the women that had actually attempted to receive the nomination themselves during the Democratic primaries. However, maybe the name doesn't mean very much to you, but Susan Rice was the National Security Advisor for Barack Obama for 4 years, I believe, and also the ambassador to the UN for 4 years. She has never held an elected political position. She's always been appointed by somebody. And so she has been, of course, involved in campaigning for Obama in the past. Certainly, she has the credentials to be taken seriously internationally. If, in fact, a woman and a black woman are, in fact, what the Americans are asking for, to equalize the political weight of an old white candidate, male candidate, she could be an interesting selection. The reason I said it this week, and I was going to wait until next week, is because she gave an interview on a New York, an American news program over the weekend, where in fact her name came up as a potential candidate. And though she was quite good at ignoring or diminishing the question to some extent, I think the word is out. Basically, I'm willing to bet the house that Susan Rice is the next Democratic vice presidential candidate. So we'll see. Now, have I made a credible choice? Is my reputation going to suffer? Well, you'll have to turn in next week, and we'll have to find out just what happens. As we will week after week until the 3rd of November, and even through the 30th of November, because as Trump has implied, this election could be subject to manipulation, and therefore it could be subject to contested result. Anyway, that's all for this week. I hope you can tune in if you're interested. We're going to start a follow-up to this monologue of mine, where we discuss American politics with a view towards the upcoming election, where I help you, I would hope, to improve your method of expressing yourselves, and please just take a look at our website for more information. That's globalfocus.it. So until next week, when we'll also talk a little bit about the Electoral College, which has recently kind of upset the popular vote in the presidential elections. Stay safe, and send us your questions, and if you're interested, please contact us for any additional information. Talk to you soon.